Welcome back. This is Pairs Well with Knitting. I'm Jennifer, and this is a knitting podcast all about knitting, yarn adventures, and travel. Thank you very much for joining me today. As always, so thrilled that you're here. We are going over my very fall knitting status of what I've been working on, what's being cast off the needles, cast onto the needles, and we've got tons of texture that I'm working with. I am just really feeling all of the cables, and I feel like it's absolutely the perfect time to get into textured knits. I'm also going to be just touching on a little bit of my trip in Halifax with some acquisitions. Stick around, get comfy, get cozy, and we will bounce right in. Of course, we'll start with what I'm wearing. What I'm wearing is the Sodaltna crop. This is an overall colorwork pattern by Caitlin Hunter. It's a top-down circular yoke built of 5 colors, and I've used very fall-y colors in the past, and I wear it so much in the fall. It's a perfect little knit to throw on and feel cozy without being too cozy. This is in 2 strands held double of the Supersoft Holts Garn. That's all I'll say about it. If you wish to check out more details, of course, I go over this in a past video. We have 2 finished objects, and both are cable-y. One I've gifted, one I have here. This is the Weekend Hat by Hiromi Nagasawa. This is a fabulous pattern, comes in one size, so buyer beware, with an overall cable work pattern. The pattern has 2 different versions of a single brim, which I've knit for a friend. I'll show in a little B-roll or a little photo above, and a double knit brim. This is knit from brim up to the crown and couldn't be simpler in my opinion. I believe it's a horseshoe cable. There's a very easy pattern repeat of one of the horseshoe cables going up and one going down. It's split by a really simple, almost like a 2x2 ribbing. The ribbing that's done on the brim is also, it's a 2x1 rib and is a really lovely knit to create. I've been knitting these quite a bit. You're going to see another one even. So I did the single brim for a gift knit in a stunning green color. This is both, that is knit in the pure Gynt by Sandnes Garn. This is the Peruvian by Filcolona, and it's just a stunner. I haven't blocked it yet. True secrets of a knitter. But just look at those decreases, so beautiful. So like I said, the one hat I've gifted already, and the recipient will be enjoying it in the cooler months, and I'm really going to enjoy this. It is going to be cozy. I didn't necessarily hit gauge with this version in the Peruvian wool by Filcolona, but I think it'll be fine. I mean, it'll be a little larger. So I used smaller needles. I used, I think, a US 4 on this, if I'm not mistaken. So she's really a dense knit, of course, with the fabric that's created by changing the directions, or I should say the order of stitches to create the cables will make for a super cozy hat. So that is the Weekend Hat by Hiromi Nagasawa. That is not my last, and just to keep on trend, I think, of hats before I get into my garments, I'm knitting up another one in a very, Pairs Well knitting color. Orange is my absolute favorite, and it's just such a fun knit. Again, I've done a double brim. This one's a little shorter because in my double version that I just showed you, the Peruvian, the quantity of the volume of yarn per ball is quite a bit more than the pure Gynt. This is pure Gynt in, I think it's called that orange colorway. Stunning. Again, I'm following all of the same direction and patterns with no modifications, except I've just reduced the double brim length just because I'm being aware of how much yarn I have. I think I'll be okay regardless, and it's just such a joy. It's I've got the pattern motif down, as this is my 3rd hat, and it's going to be fabulous. We're loving it. I'm following the directions, of course, as per the designer with a wrap and turn. But what I have done, I'm trying to think if I did anything slightly different. Oh, I did. In this version, I knit just the straight ribbing as per directions. However, I totally forgot about this, and if you are into this kind of thing, this might be for you. In my first double knit, just because I think it was such a chunky yarn, I really wanted to reduce the volume of stitches for the fabric at the fold. So what I did is I did the little, I almost want to say I've gotten the idea from petite knit patterns before, when you do a double brim. So I did 3 rows of slip stitches every other stitch, if that makes sense. And I think that just allows for the brim to fold over much nicer, so it gives it more of a crisp line, and also reduces the fabric there, so it just sits better. Didn't do it with my orange one. I was on the subway and wasn't really paying attention, so we just kept knitting. Anyway, that is it for the weekend hat. You'll see the orange one in the next episode, which will be absolutely finished. We're gonna get into garments, and this is obviously where my heart is. I have been taking this on the TCC and my travel knits regardless. This is the sweater number 29. You will have seen this in my last updated video of my status, of my knitting status. I cast this particular sweater on while I was on the island in Nova Scotia, and just am loving this in a really big way. This is, again, sweater number 29. This is by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This design came out, I feel, somewhat recently. I had this in, I believe it was one of my cable pattern roundups. So I think it was like January of last year, so relatively new. It is a really simple pattern motif where you're cabling every 10th row and always in the same direction. So there's really nothing complicated about that. The construction is really unique. I'll go over just bits and bobs, as it's not a full finished object, but it's pretty cool. It's a saddle shoulder where you actually start with almost these swatches, if that makes sense. So I've got like 3 different motifs here of the cable worked up, and you're literally following the pattern to create almost a swatch. So I use that as my swatch, which was pretty cool, in one of my shoulder caps, I'll call it. It's not really a cap, it's more of the shoulder top for both sides. And then you basically pick up the stitches at the back, and I will be careful of how I share, but join the back together, and then you basically pick up the front stitches of those 2 quote swatches, or those little shoulder pads. It's almost a shoulder pad. It is a shoulder pad. Like, I'm an 80s girl. We're saying a shoulder pad. And then you bring together the neck by casting on, of course, eventually join in the round and go to town. This is and I mean, she's not blocked or anything. She's not even done. But this is a combination of the extra small size and the small size. Because I was finding, and I was worried that I wouldn't get the width that I needed on the chest circumference, because again, we're not totally meeting gauge, and it's really hard to find out how big this will be when it's fully blocked and sits with the weight of everything, and with the gravity. I've just started the sleeve this weekend, and I'm so adoring how these cables are all parallel here, but then these ones are like adjacent, going against. It's just a dream come true. The wool I didn't talk about. So this is in the Hillesvag Villsau Garn, and is very rustic. It's a Nordic sheep, and it's just stunning in this like green forest colorway. I got this at the Hillesvag mill, so this is coming directly from Norway that I brought back home with me, and I think it's going to be such a stunner. I think this sweater may be an instant favorite when she's done. So I basically have another sleeve to do, and then I'm going to be picking up for a double ribbed neckline, and that's it. That's the sweater number 29, and just loving the process, and I think I'm going to love the wearing even more. My next status on a garment is my diamond jumper. This is Bean. It's made a couple showings here. This is a pattern by Anne Ventzel and is just a stunning piece of work with the motifs that are worked to create this diamond cable. I mean, fab. There's a twisted rib, mind you. It is the knit and purl in the back stitch. If you've been here for a hot minute, you may have seen that I didn't start with that on the neckline, but we've corrected and we know that the designer knows what they're doing. Yeah, we've got a really chunky, heavy hitting neck for a turtleneck. I do believe it's going to be quite fitted at the neck, which actually I really like, unlike I think the pattern designer's intent, but I had reduced the quantity of stitches for the neckline and the needle. Moving on, yeah, I'm following the pattern exactly, and the motif was points while I was hot and heavy on this. I had memorized. I want to say it's a 10 or 12 row repeat, but each row is slightly different. So this is a little more minds on than even the other cable pieces that I've been showing you with the weekend hat and with sweater number 29. But I think we will be there soon enough to do the ribbing at the bottom and then picking up for sleeves. This is a top-down raglan construction and is fabulous. This is knit, actually, I brought it so organized today, in Gilliatt by Natura, if I'm saying that correctly, and it's a really cost-effective yarn with a very chunky, I'll say like hefty ball of worsted weight yarn. Definitely woolen spun. It's very light and airy. It's fabulous. And it kind of reminds me, I'm taking a step, and you may disagree. It kind of reminds me of sheer, which is a woolen spun by Hillesvag Designs down in the States of New Hampshire. And I knit a sweater in that. I knit the field sweater by Hillesvag and love it. This is very reminiscent of that, but this is a, more commercial yarn, pretty accessible. So it could be an interesting dupe actually, if you were looking at sheer. Moving on. So that's it. That's the diamond jumper by Anne Ventzel. Those are my garments. I'm going to be pulling in another little piece here as I go because I really need your opinion on this. I have cast on a swatch for the Gujo sweater that I featured in my pattern roundup for fall. This is a stunning sweater design, very oversized, funnel neck, how can we say? I mean, I had it as I think my #1 pattern for my fall roundup video 2 weeks ago. It's a half fisherman's rib raglan sweater. The design is very thoughtful with the decreases that are happening throughout to get you this very specific but very flattering fit, comfortable fit, cozy fit, but still in my opinion pretty hot, good looking hot. So what I've done, I was really excited to get this onto my needles, is I've started using a yarn also from Hillesvag because I went to town when I was there in Norway and bought tons of yarn. So this is Troll. It's a very light, airy 2-ply yarn. Really, I think it's really basic for Hillesvag. I think it's one of their kind of, their hero yarns that they sell quite a bit of. I know people usually use this kind of yarn in colorway, their Farrell motif, very cozy knits. It's a big gauge, so this should relatively be meeting what I want for the Ego Knit Gujo pattern. Here's my thing. So I started doing the half fisherman's rib on a needle size that was recommended by the pattern designer. It's a very different yarn, of course. They were using for their pattern Woolia by J-Pard and the matching mohair. I'm not. So I'm getting a gauge that's bigger. I'm fine to do modifications, provided I like the fabric. Here's the thing. With this yarn, I don't think there's going to be a lot of bloom, which is totally cool. But the spaces, if you can see the spaces that are flanking the knit stitch, so this is like the purl that you do for the half fisherman, it's very holy, and I'm not super enjoying the holy factor. I mean, some of them are just ginormous. So I've tried to tighten down by gauge. I'm using a smaller needle. I don't know if I'm loving the fabric. So here's my call, my request to you as gorgeous seasoned knitters who have these really lovely opinions and recommendations for things like this. Do I continue on? And I mean, I can modify, like I said, the pattern for stitch counts. I'm not afraid of that. But I don't know if I'm loving the whole. So do you think that I should somehow learn to tighten up my pearls because they're very holy, or go down in needle size, or is this yarn just a bust with the pairing of the pattern? I really want to use this. I have it in my stash. I really want this cream color as well. It does avoid me having to go out and get two different yarns of, like, say, a mohair and something else to pair it with. I don't know what you think. Yeah, I want to love it. I do. I just don't like the holes. So how can I reduce the holes, basically, is my ask to you. All right, that's where I'm going. That's a little piece that's going to help me. So please comment on that. I'm going to go over two different acquisitions I have. I'm going to make this very efficient. My first is yarn that I purchased while I was in Halifax and I went to Fia. This is a yarn shop by Juliana right in the north end of Halifax. Love this. This was my last stop in Nova Scotia before coming home to Toronto, and I could just spend hours in Fia. First of all, Julia, super chatty and lovely, of course. She's like so cool. She's very hip chick, but her yarn selection, her store is fabulous, and it continues to get even better every time I'm in with different brands and labels that she's bringing in. It's so exciting. She also has a huge corner now that's grown of Nova Scotian yarn, which is amazing. I picked up the Pure Gynt yarn. This was for hat intention. I'm very much on the hat train, as you can see. The orange that I picked up as well, this was from her, and the green version. So I basically picked up 6 different balls of Pure Gynt to make the weekend hats. This may be a weekend hat, this may be a ribbed hat, but I just thought this charcoal colorway was perfect for pairing with everything I wear in the winter. So yeah, that was great. And Juliana's shop at Fia is where I found out about the knit circle that was happening, knit night, in a cafe that I went to, and it was fabulous. So thank you to everyone who was so kind to me and generous about spending their time with me and chatting in the knit circle, because I was brand new. I'm not a local. I was just, this Toronto girl in for a few days in Halifax, and all of the people in the knit circle, there were like 16 of you gorgeous humans. So welcoming, so chatty, so inviting. It was stunning. What an experience at this random knit night I attended. So that was wicked awesome. Another day, close to the day that I had started packing up to go home, was I went over to Dartmouth. It's called Dartmouth. It's spelled Dartmouth, and it is just across the waterway. You take a little ferry there over to another side of Halifax. It's outside of the main downtown core, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I actually looked up a seafood place that I was interested in. I knew there was an ice cream place, so I had my food all set and ready. I went over and had seafood overlooking the water and the ferry for a good amount of time and knit and just fully enjoyed on this gorgeous sunny day. I had a beautiful little amber beer after a good chat with the bartender. Like it was great. It was great. Loving it. My expectations were already met. I went up then to go get my ice cream that I was excited to get, that I was recommended to go find. This was like a dairy-free, vegan, whatever. It was very tasty. It had coconut milk in place. It was called churned. But I stumbled across a yarn shop. I can't believe that of all people in all places, I didn't look up before to see if there was a yarn shop within Dartmouth. And there she was. This was called the Knit and Stitch. It's a new yarn shop that just just opened in April. It was beautiful. The yarns that were there were so my jam. They were all rustics. They were a lot of imports. I ended up purchasing 2 different skeins of a yarn that I don't even think I can get anywhere else. This is a stunning yarn. This is the Yarn Vibes Irish Wool by, oh no, maybe it's Cliffs of Moher. Irish Tweed by Irish Wool? Nope, by Yarn Vibes. Oh my goodness. And is so much fun. She is tweedy, flucky, multicolor. It's just fab. They had all different kinds of options. I wanted to get, like, they had a cream. It was just so fun. This is a fingering weight yarn. It's a 1-ply only, so an interesting version. This reminds me very much of the Isayer Aran tweed. Very like reminiscent of that. It's quite rustic, I think, but I think will soften up with wash. And I have an idea with this. I think what I'm going to do with this is pair it with a mohair and create some kind of modified like ivy top. I made the ivy top in yellow in line by Sandnes Garn for like the summer, spring. So I think I'm gonna almost do that as a vest. I'm gonna see how much I can kick out. This is a pretty good amount of meterage. We're looking at 300 meters per 100 grams. So I think we could do it paired with a mohair. I'm not sure if the mohair will take away from the tweedy flex, which I'm hoping it wouldn't. But we're fab. So that was the Knit and Stitch in Dartmouth. And if you are in the Halifax area or going to visit, you absolutely have to take the ferry to go over and check out the shop. They had lessons going on at the time. They have a knit circle as well. It's going to be a happening place if you are a maker and a knitter. So go check it out. It was so gorgeous. All right. I think that is it for now. I feel like I have babbled on enough about what is on my needles. I am requesting, if you are feeling you would like to share and have beautiful ideas, how I can improve my fabric for my half fisherman's rib, for the Igyo knits, beautiful sweater of the Gujo. And I think I'll leave it there. If you enjoyed the episode, I very much invite you to like and subscribe to the channel, of course. I've got my patterns and a Ko-Fi link all below within the show notes. Of course, in addition to the show notes, I've got information about what I've shared today. Perhaps this has inspired you to get some folly textury bits onto your needles with cables, or realize just how vast the cable world is, because I am just having a ball putting my stitches out of order and making very textured knits that I cannot wait to wear. Wishing you the best joy in your knitting. Until next time, take care.